Welcome to the Global Spin Podcast with me, Ryan Kramer, where we take a deep dive into the world of global selling and share the secrets to growing your brand in new markets. Whether you're looking to expand your brand, enter new markets, or boost your sales, we've got you covered. Tune in for unscripted, engaging episodes that will take you on a journey of discovery and success. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Global Spin Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Kramer, and this is my corner of the internet where I bring the best and brightest in the Amazon, e-commerce, and logistics space. Thanks for tuning in for the second episode this week. We were off a little bit, came back hot with 2 episodes this week, so I'm really excited to be talking to one of my friends of the show. If you're new to my podcasting style, everyone who I bring onto my corner of the internet, which I like to say is where I occupy the most, where I shout out a bunch of different things that I see in the space, or I'm learning about different things in the Amazon e-commerce space. They come into my area, they're a friend to me. So I call them friends of the show. I'm really excited to be talking about with him today because I think there's a lot of notions in the agency world that are constantly changing. There's a lot of things in the marketing world that are changing. And so we titled episode 5 today, Unveiling the Hidden Secrets of Amazon marketing. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to dive right into it. Welcome back, or I should say welcome to our new show, but welcome back to my corner of the internet, Andrew Morgans of Markenology. Andrew, thanks for hopping on today. And I'm going to unmute you. There we go. Perfect.
No, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to get you back on my show so I can pick your brain. I think we're friends in real life, not just on the show, because we've seen each other at different shows and things like that. You know, I do have friends like from Europe and different places I've yet to meet. And so sometimes I'm like, I guess we're social media friends. I don't know.
We're Facebook official or LinkedIn official.
Yeah, we've drank together. So, you know, we've broken bread. So
it's very true. Yeah, I consider you a friend in real life, and we pass ideas off to each other. Dude, you're so busy. You're all over the place. It seems like you're always branding something. You're promoting something. And I had Ben Leonard on, earlier this week, when we were on chatting, and he made a really cool distinction of there's a difference between building a brand and then branding, the act of building a brand or marketing and building that ecosystem. And it feels like you've really hit the sweet spot for both. So for people who are not familiar with you, kind of give me your background and just how we got to today.
Yeah. So I think you're right on the differences between the two. I've been in the Amazon space 12 years, going on 12, almost 13 years now. So I've seen just the evolution of the marketplace, you know, the evolution of the industry really. And I started out, I'll save all my backstory, from growing up in Africa to being in bands, but you know, all those things lead up to like what we're doing now most of the time. And so I took a lot of those just world experiences. And when I was in a band, I was really learning about building a brand. You know, we were doing tryouts, and labels were like, well, we're looking for this look. We're looking for this look. And it just made me start thinking in general about presentation and cohesiveness across from your album to your shirts, the way you look on stage and all those kinds of things. So that was definitely my early look into branding. But over the last 12 years, I've just, you know, honestly been working with hundreds of brands and Amazon sellers. Not all of those Amazon sellers were brands, but really been working with hundreds of them, and just really learned on the job kind of training, what works, what doesn't work, what are the things that we can do as sellers on Amazon, or as someone trying to build brands. What can we do better that brands of the past have taught us, those big retail brands? What can we take from them and take it onto the Amazon marketplace? And from an early age, I guess, so to speak, in regards to my Amazon industry knowledge, I saw from like Adidas and Suiza and some of these big ones, the power of amazing content and the power of great branding. And then just trying to win, honestly, trying to win through the years, trying to beat out China whenever their price points are better or their logistics are better, trying to win branding and content and storytelling. These have been like the tools in the back pocket that you want to be able to pull out and really, add. And I think my greatest lesson has been with Marknology itself. Just building this company, building this brand to be what it is. It's one thing to do work for others. It's another thing to try to do the same thing yourself. And, to me, there's branding and then there's building a brand. Building a brand is where you stay consistent through the years, not through the weeks, not through the months, but through the years, staying consistent to what you're building, staying consistent to from when you get met in person at a show to being on podcasts to the way you present on social media to your website to your work to your reputation, your word. All these things go into building a brand, and branding can be, my logo, our look, our feel, our colors, our text. Getting branding help could be, hey, you have a great reputation, let me help you look better, so to speak.
Right. So for personally, is that something that you're constantly tweaking and evolving over time, or is that something you said consistency? How do you create consistency without evolution of who you are, what you represent, what your thoughts are in that capacity?
Well, I think you choose things that are not static and you choose things that are dynamic to build your brand on.
Mhm.
So for me, that's effort and quality of work. And I think people coming to Marknology can trust that we're going to do our best, regardless of if we're right or wrong. We're going to try our hardest. We're going to do our best. There's no perfect answers to building a business. So you jump in and you try things. And I think so if your reputation or your brand is built on reputation, trust, experience, expertise, these kinds of things can evolve. And
Right.
as you evolve, they can move with you, and those things can stay your brand. Versus, we're known for having the cheapest prices always. Well, that's never going to allow you to really evolve into let's say, a medium market or a premium market without completely rebranding. Right. So, just a little example. I don't know if those were helpful, but I think that's kind of how you do it.
No, absolutely. It's helpful because the insight in the space, it's constantly just hearing points of view is always insightful for myself, but also people who listen to a podcast or any sort of presentation. They know what to expect if they've heard of you before, or if they don't know what to expect, they can. That point of view is always what's going to different, right? If we talked about the same topic, but we come at it from a different way, it's going to unlock a different style or a different insight, no matter who you talk to. So it really is important to understand that. But I want to evolve that into an agency world, because a lot of people who we work with and who obviously you are possibly competing with, or just like trying to talk to a brand who's taking that next step, if you will, of, hey, I need your help. I can't do this all myself. The difference between agency to agency. I actually had this quote from an agency the other day. It goes, we're all do kind of very much the same thing, but there's a difference of thoughts, opinions. Like, you can all do the same thing, right? Like there's a basic concept to that of managing a brand, but I think there's more to that, and I think that they're not giving themselves credit, right? It's part of that branding aspect. So, can you talk a little bit about you as an agency? How do you distinguish yourself as a difference in tools, technology or whatnot, but then also how you operate and build brands, one versus another agency?
Yeah. So, a little side note: do you like Mexican food?
I do.
Okay. So, at least here in Kansas City, we have quite a few Mexican places. And I love Mexican food. And there's definitely, like, I have these different restaurants that I like for different reasons.
Right.
Right. I've got margaritas that I like because their chips and salsa is amazing and they put a lot of cheese on everything. I like El Patron because they have an amazing rooftop patio. And if I want to be outside, I'm going there. I go to Ponax if I'm looking for a margarita because they just have the best margaritas in town. And I
Sure.
think that's kind of how agencies can be a little bit. It's like, what are you needing in that moment, or what are you looking for, in a relationship? Because that's really what agencies are doing with brands. They can be transactional, but it's more about relationship. And how do you want that relationship to be? Do you want to be codependent? Do you want to be a supportive relationship? What kind of relationship are you looking for? If you need words of affirmation all the time, I think about it just like that, right? Because it really is a relationship, especially the type of clients we're looking for. We're not looking for a fling. We're looking for something we can build with, right? So putting that into context, I know it's a little bit of an analogy, but you really think of it as like, we do kind of the same thing. We are selling Mexican food, but there's always specialties to different things. And do you want a warm relationship? Do you want a cold one? Well, speaking to Martinology specifically, one thing I think that's different is we're founded and ran by operators.
Right.
I've built brands myself. I have my own brands. I've been doing the work. I am the Amazon expert at the beginning. I've been doing it 12 years. I'm building a team based on my own experience, not that I took a course or SOPs or I'm a great businessman and I wanted to build an agency in the space. The founder, there's a difference in the founder. I'm an operator. I'm an Amazon expert myself. That's one major difference, I think, when you're really looking at companies and what's out there, is the person that's running the ship an Amazon expert in this space. Have they spent 10,000 hours, much less 20,000 or 30,000 hours on the platform? I think that matters. And then it goes down there from there on the team. I'm not saying teams ran by business owners that don't have Amazon expertise can't be lucrative businesses or great businesses. I'm saying it's a major differentiation.
Right.
And there's a few of us in this space that have been operators themselves and then turn into building agencies, right? So there's that. There's also the fact that I just am very competitive. I wanted to build the best agency in the space. And so we moved into, instead of staying in like certain verticals that we might have really mastered, I really did believe that we need to be full service from day one. So I built a full service agency to be a full service agency because as I was a consultant in the space, writing SEO, managing PPC, running sales, sure, advising 3PLs in logistics, how to stock their inventory, what software to use to connect, inventory projections, international expansion, on and on and on, right? As I was doing those things myself, I really saw that, hey, this dial over here affects this dial over here, affects this dial over here, affects this dial over here. And so wanting to be the best and actually passionate about e-commerce myself, I was like, look, if I could control their supply chain, if I could control their PPC and their SEO, oh my goodness, I can show them the impacts of PPC strategy along with SEO, the performance, tracking keywords, all these things. I could look at profitability. I wouldn't lose the client because I could help them get profitable, all of those things. And so seeing that myself, because I was the operator at one time, and because I want to be successful, I want to build brands that last, I started building full service. And so we solve for all of those things, because whether you're doing it with piecemeal, let's say with different agencies or different teams or different consultants, you still need all of those things to be successful on Amazon. So
Absolutely.
I just built those in-house. And I think the last piece that really separates us from everyone, not everyone else, a lot of other agencies, is really the content piece, the content branding piece specific to Amazon. There's amazing branding agencies. There's amazing content providers all over the place. But we specialize on Amazon and the marketplaces, even Target and Walmart. We've learned all the ins and outs of content there. I wanted to build a content team that worked alongside an Amazon management team. And that was not really popular at the time. People weren't really spending a lot of money on content or time on content. But I know it's taking a second, but you want to talk about the differences. I knew I could go get a great freelancer to do some design work, or I could go get a great freelancer to make some A+ pages or some PDP graphics. But there's nothing like having a team, let's say of 10 or 12 designers on my team that are collaborating every day. They're working and obsessing every single day about Amazon, how to lay stuff out in a PDP, how to lay stuff out in an A+ page. It's just different than that person that's maybe taken 10 hours on a project, regardless of their talent, to jump into the Amazon world, do some work, jump out, or to be templatized. So, it's one thing as an agency to manage content in a big way, and really try to just improve the space and improve the content. I believe this is a way that smaller brands or American brands can compete with China, by doing branding better, by doing content better, by connecting emotionally with American customers. So that's a mouthful, but these were just like things that I believed would make us better and would make the brands we're working on better. And so I set up to build these things. And you put that together with being based as a missionary family, being based in the Midwest, You know, you kind of got that Midwestern charm. We're not on the coast. We, you know, just hospitality, service, you know, blue collar type of mentality around here. I think it sets us apart. And then lastly, the last hammer on the head is experience. You know, not just myself, but my leadership team, all the way down to some of my 23-year-olds have been with me 5 years. We just have a ton of experience when it comes to seeing problems, knowing what to do on Amazon, you know, to get wins. And I think that experience, you know, can be the difference in brands really making it or not.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of things that you can take away from that, and thanks for sharing all those insights. I mean, we can go different directions in this, but I want to kind of take a step back in terms of experience. You've been in the space a long time, so if I when is it appropriate that you think of somebody as an expert in the field? So what I mean by that is a lot of people are like, oh, I'm an expert in, let's call it flat files or PPC or branding or whatnot, international expansion. When is it, does it feel like other people have to tell you you're an expert in that? Or can you self-proclaim you're an expert? And it kind of goes off with like, hey, this is why you should work with me. I'm an expert in XYZ. When is it appropriate, do you think, personally, since you've been in the space for so long and have your hands in everything? When do you, I guess I should say, call yourself an expert in this area of growing on Amazon?
Well, that's a hard question, Ryan,
I'm here
because
for asking all the hard
I'm
questions.
not trying to throw anyone under the bus, you know. But I think like you get what you pay for in a lot of ways when it comes to these types of things. And I'm someone that's lost, you know, my piggy bank on making some bad decisions on experts myself. You know, a web expert or an SEO expert or a branding expert or whoever. You know, through the
Mm,
years, I've definitely taken my swings. Um, there was a time where I had a ton of self-confidence issues, imposter syndrome. I've got articles out there, all types of stuff. So it's not something that just like I'm a guru. I would never use that word. You know, but an expert is something like, for me, they say a chess master is 10,000 hours, right?
mm,
I think that's been said. I'm approaching 30,000 hours. You know, so not saying that that's the rule of thumb. But I do believe like if I got sat in a room with the other greats in this industry, you know, like Carlos Alvarez or Kevin King or you know, Paul Barron or Tim Jordan or any of these guys, just coming up with some names, Vanessa Hung.
yeah,
I wouldn't be stumped by any question. I wouldn't feel inferior to any of those other experts in the room. You know, I'd feel like a colleague. So some of it is just like comparing yourself in some ways to others in space and being like, am I above or below expertise here? It's not about knowing every answer. It's about being able to be in the room, I think. So that's where some of my confidence has come in. I've just done it. I've actually made millionaires. I've actually been a part of 14 exits. You know, so you don't get to a certain level of I guess, accomplishment without being able to know what you're doing, right?
right.
So some of that is like self-proclaimed, I guess. I want to say that as humbly as I can. Like some of it is just like, well, if I'm not an expert, who is, kind of thing, you know, because there's just not that this space is new and we all know each other, right? But to the others out there, like calling themselves experts or expertise, you know, expertise and experts are a little bit different too. You can have expertise in something and not be an expert. So you're really making me want to squirm around this question. But I think it really comes down to just like you know, my confidence started kicking in when it was like, if I don't know the answer, I know that I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it, and I'm probably going to be the closest person to be able to helping you get that answer. So why not? If not, then why not me? You
Right.
know. And I
I like
think
that answer.
that's where it comes in.
So when a brand comes to you and says, do you need to work with somebody who's an expert in their own business, or are they, I guess I go from information like gathering for, you know, when you think of a certain topic that you're trying to learn more about, you go to certain venues, right? You name dropped a couple people. I think of certain topics when I think of a Vanessa Hung that she's constantly talking about over and over and over again. Same with you. Same with Kevin King or Carlos Alvarez. Those people have been, you know, building businesses and brands themselves. So it feels like that's why they are experts in their field and they can talk on so many different topics. I go to Destiny with Sean for PPC because she's literally in it every day building brands, growing them, things like that. When a brand is an expert in their field, does it feel comfortable that you can rely on them to be an expert in their craft, and then you can kind of fill in the gaps where it is, or do you have to feel like you have to empower them in their expertise as well?
In a perfect scenario, we're supporting each other like a
Right.
relationship, right? We're supportive. They're not codependent on me. I'm not codependent on them. I'm not just giving them everything. They're not just giving me everything, right? It's supportive. In a perfect world, supportive. So not to pull in some like relationship advice here, but like, it's what I've been reading about. So it's relevant for me. But it's very much true that like this is a partnership. An agency is not a do it for you. Any of those things that say they'll create a passive business for you, this baloney. This is a partnership. We're there to be partners. If your cost of goods is wrong and you're not telling me that, if your supply chain is messed up and we're not in control of that, there's a lot of things that we have to rely on them to know their business, and to be able to be good business managers, at the very least, for us to be able to be successful. So for me, part of it is trying not to get into a relationship with someone with a bunch of red flags, you
Right.
know. So I'm looking for that expertise when I'm talking to them. I'm asking them questions to just see if they really know, their arena that they're in.
Is that where a lot of people fall flat beforehand, is the kind of preemptive work of, hey, are you an expert in your field? Do you have your business kind of deck in order, like your house in order, essentially? Like, your numbers, your costs, what you can spend. You're just kind of making sure that they're on the level with you, and then that's where the foundation grows.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Think about it like being like a district attorney, right? I like to use analogies because I just like to
I
relate to
love it.
people. But
You're in
like,
my same
so
wheelhouse.
you're a district attorney. They rarely pick up cases that they don't think they can win
Right.
or get a successful verdict, right? So in the same way, I love taking on challenges. I have taken on the hardest projects that you can imagine. Like, I mean, like 700,000 SKUs that I had to manage the PPC, and I had to be under 5% ACoS, right? So I've taken on some challenges just to make one relevant to Amazon, like 700,000 SKUs before there was software. I was doing all bulk load, upload sheets in the beginning. Like I took on challenge after challenge after challenge like that, to the point where I now know what challenges to take on and which ones to try to avoid. And it's similar to dating. I keep bringing it back to that, but relationship wise, I don't know anything else that compares, where it's like, if you don't, like, you could be dating a girl, and or a guy, and you don't know their financial situation. Or you
Hmm.
don't know if they're good with finances, bad with finances. You never have the talk because it's taboo and you're not good at communication, whatever. You get into this longer relationship and you find out that they have a huge spending problem.
Right.
Or, right, that's catastrophe for the relationship 9 times out of 10. Right. So same thing with a business like this. You don't know that they have supply chain issues, or you don't know that they have cash flow issues, or you don't know that they have no one in place to be able to like liaison between you and the brand. They don't have that person of contact that's going to be there. These are things that, like, if you don't have that, your chances of winning are very, very low, slim to none. And so you're taking on a project. If you're an agency owner, that with churn, you lose money with churn, right? So the
Mhm.
longer you keep brands, the more profitable they are. So you're looking for that long-term relationship. You're not looking for the flings, at least if you're set up like mine with a full service agency type of thing. If you're just, like a, let's say, seller candy, where you're getting work done a la carte, piecemeal like that, that's a different business model. But I'm
Yep.
talking about more like, a business, full service engagement like this. Um, you're setting yourself up to lose. You're setting your team up, your designers, your creatives, my account team. They get invested in these brands, so they'll put their heart and soul into these brands. And then if we lose them, like, they are hurt. Like, my team gets hurt by losing clients, or like by losing on projects. They take it personally. So just like a relationship would, you think it's going good, you put your heart into it, but as you date more, as you get more experience, as you mature, you start to realize like what you're looking for in a person or in a relationship. And I think the same can be said of agencies. I think that was a major downfall of some of the aggregators that weren't successful, is not knowing exactly what projects to pick or buy and which ones to leave alone, versus I'm not buying them all and aggregating them as an aggregator, so to speak, but I definitely was still looking at a 1 to 2 year type of partnership. And can I grow it? And is it going to be successful with the pieces in place and those types of things? But the agency owners that have been doing it 10 plus years oftentimes know what those things are.
Yeah, and I remember, and I was talking about this with Ben Leonard in our last episode. I just remember a time, and you brought up the aggregator model, how we knew it in what 2021, 2020, like early part of 2022, even the late part of 2020. I remember just it being a lot of the same principles of buying profitable products, not really focused on the branding aspect. And I remember seeing, hey, that's exciting, but I feel like there's an aspect of what an agency does is like really build a brand aspect of it, managing it, operating it, growing that. And then they were looking at a different way of like, hey, we can just buy it and take it and grow it to the next level. But they were missing the components of the branding, the aspect of like how to consolidate, and like you said, just avoiding ones that just didn't fit the portfolio or the product or who they had on inside. So there was a time where I remember seeing, not to poo-poo on Thrasio or anything like that, of there he said, hey, we hired 100 people this month and then we have 200 brands. And I started thinking like the math concept of like, you're telling me you have 7 people per brand or 9 people per brand, whatever it was, just aspect of like you need that many people to like have ownership over one brand essentially. So it just feels like, not the writing was on the wall, it just seems like there's so much that goes into building the components and everyone having the right feel for the brand, the right where to talk to people, how, if this is in retail, if it's not in retail, if it's just on Amazon, what other marketplaces, if it's, does it go global, does it not? There's so many different avenues that one person or a team has to take ownership over, and that just feels like that was a missing component. I'm not sure if you felt the same way or not.
Yeah, you have to have feeling. You have to care. This business is too hard to just automate. Instead, so bring like when we engage with a brand, and we're 1 month in, do you think I'm emotionally invested at that point?
Yeah,
No.
probably not. Yeah,
No, I'm not. I'm 1 month in. It's new. It's a new relationship. I don't don't have a ton invested. I haven't been working hard, like at this point yet. We're 30 days in to like really make it successful. I don't know everything about their customers. I don't know everything about the owner. I don't know everything about the products. But if I was being asked to make decisions for that brand, for the next 12 months, the next 24 months, make decisions, I'm not emotionally connected. I'm just working off of logic, right? There's no emotional connection. And I think that's super, super important with selling. Not just from the content, the images. That is such a shallow way of looking at content and branding. It's not just the images, it's what the images are invoking, what the packaging is invoking. Like a lot of those successful brands that the aggregators bought were built by passionate people trying to get out of their 9-to-5 jobs, or some of them were just business, sure, but a lot of them were built out of passion, ambition, heart, sweat and tears, and then they got taken over by essentially bankers in a lot of ways, that are great with numbers and capital and all those types of things. But it takes more than that, really, to build a successful brand. It's not a run and gun. It's not a tech startup. It is different than that.
yeah, and to meet it where it was, like success in all assets of a business, and then to improve upon something, and you're just removing someone who's been in it for potentially years for a lot of these different brands. That was something that just I didn't see like where that connection would be made, of how would you take someone's knowledge of both product, market it better, build it better than what that person was already doing, unless you just have more capital and can just match that level of creativity, that level of knowledge and insight even more than them. And that's where I feel like that was always a missing component. Um, and anyways, but we
Put
I
it
can
like
have a whole
this.
episode over
Right.
that.
Let's say, it's just talking about expertise, right? But like, let's say you've got a great e-commerce generalist on an aggregator team, or a team, a great e-commerce generalist. Anyone that's been in the Amazon space knows that Amazon is a part of e-commerce. It's part of the bucket, but e-commerce is this big umbrella. You've got like web and SMS and direct to consumer and Walmart and Amazon. It's a plethora of things.
Mm.
And you've got maybe the best and sharpest e-commerce generalist in America. And you put me, just because I'm putting myself out there instead of someone else, with 20 or 30,000 hours of expertise and hours logged on Amazon. And you put them in the same room, and they brought up 10 problems that happen on Amazon. Who's going to have a better chance of knowing exactly what to do with those things?
Right.
you
Someone
know?
who's in there every day. Yeah, exactly.
Like, even if I'm not smarter than them, even if I'm not more educated, even if I'm not more experienced, you've got someone that's actually been in the trenches doing something, they stand much higher chance of getting it right. And there's just a lot of nuance to this platform that I've made the $10,000 shipping mistakes. I've made, on and on and on and on. I'm not just talking about 20,000 hours. I'm probably 1,000 or 10,000 failures ahead of that person too on
Right.
Amazon. Right.
Well,
So
right.
learning by just doing.
How do you so I'm gonna kind of take this and spin it the other
Yeah.
way because I think it's a cool concept and idea when we as professionals in Amazon, and then now you're taking, in your case, an agency, and now you're building off Amazon channels, like taking it, you're successful on Amazon. First off, how do you what do you consider successful in your eyes as a success on Amazon? Because Amazon spans so much, right? You have marketplaces, you have different countries all around the world. When you say to a brand and you say we've done and we're really good here, now let's go to and add on another marketplace, which is a whole nother, learning different, like buyer type, different advertising techniques to be successful. How do you take that and have that conversation?
Well, I think one thing about Marknology and my team is we are very ambitious. We are very proactive. That's why I fell in love with Amazon, is because there's so many proactive things you can do to grow. You don't just have to sit it there and wait, for the grass to grow. You can be doing this, be doing that, trying this. And I love that. I'm a tester. As I'm building my own brands, the need to really understand off Amazon became very important to me. And so for the last 2 years, probably 24 months, I've been building direct to consumer websites, driving TikTok, Facebook, Instagram traffic there, SEO, getting sales on the website, also using all those same strategies to grow Amazon brands further. But
Does that replicate well?
it does. It
Okay.
does. It does replicate well. It's a lot of the same reasons why, but the way that you do it is different. Okay.
Okay.
In regards to like selling on a website versus but there's different nuance. So right, if let's just say I'm running a TikTok ad to drive, and I built a website and I want to drive sales, TikTok to a website, or TikTok to a sales, a click funnel or something to a website is a strategy. That might be for sales, collecting email addresses, just to know that I can find the target customer, any number of things. Taking that to, let's say, that TikTok traffic to a landing page, then to Amazon. Okay. That is a different strategy. I'm not necessarily looking just for sales. I'm looking for BSR ranking. I'm looking for additional boost. I'm looking for all kinds of things. And there's a million reasons why you might want to do this or that or the other. But as strategies, as someone that's been in the space 12 years, I saw all the search, find, buy, and the super URLs, in the giveaways to rank products, and all of the black hat or gray hat strategies that exist, right? It's more so these things do work. How do you do it white hat? How do you do it in a way that's not going to get you in trouble with Amazon's terms of service? But how do you take some of these off Amazon strategies and really boost your listings on Amazon, doing it in a way that can create the same results as those other strategies, but that are not only not frowned upon, they're encouraged by Amazon.
Hmm.
Right. So that's really been the goal. Where a lot of people went in on Facebook really, really hard during those years, I went in on Amazon and I became an Amazon expert. A lot of people became Facebook experts, missed a lot of that time to become an expert in that space. TikTok and some of these other things coming out have given us a new chance to jump in early and really figure stuff out in a new way. As Facebook got harder and harder and harder to be successful with ROAS and things like that. So it's really a combination of all of these things. But for me, it comes down to, like, sometimes the off Amazon strategies are needed if you have an invention type product, or you
Hmm.
don't have a lot of search demand on Amazon for it. You might need a type of channel where you're able to show something that no one's looking for yet, just by targeting that type of customer to get action. Okay.
Right.
So these would be reasons for those things. I also don't like leaving my destiny in one place. Well, I'm building brands now. That's part of my strategy. I want to be able to pull all the levers that I can. International expansion on Amazon is a whole nother subject. I've been doing that for 10 years. Almost as soon as Amazon Canada was a thing, I was selling on Amazon Canada. I'm a huge advocate. I was in the the round table at Amazon in Seattle for the first like 10 international brands they brought in. One of the private label sellers I've been working with for years was like invited, and so we were in 11 countries early on. It's just it's an amazing way to diversify. You don't have to learn brand new skills really to do it. You have partners like Frisbee that can help you get it done. Nice little plug there, right? But it's true.
Yeah, thank you.
And what you're doing is taking what you've already figured out on .com and replicating it on these other marketplaces like the UK or Canada or Australia. There's a little nuance, a little nuance sometimes from localization or translation if needed, or taxes and logistics, of course. But the Amazon strategies are very much the same, and they help you diversify. And so I love this the most when you have brands that have like 3 to 5 SKUs, and instead of just creating new product, because it costs them a lot in comparison to everything they have, it costs them a lot to develop new SKUs. They're not like a large manufacturer that can just kick stuff out all the time. Instead of having to double down on different inventory and try new products and spend a whole bunch of money on launch and all these kinds of things, you can take that product, put it into Canada. A lot of the keywords that are already working. You've got the content usually figured out, the SEO figured out, and all you're doing is dividing your inventory sitting in your warehouse not being sold, and taking some of that to these marketplaces, and figuring out the right price points to sell and all of that nuance. But it's just a great way to expand your markets and protect yourself, insulate yourself, from anything happening. I don't like to play defense as much as I like to play offense, but right. There really are a different time and place and a bunch of different situations for saying yes or no to those things.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that when people are going to those markets, a lot of it is they think it's a replicate. When you say replicate, they think, oh, the sales are going to do exactly the same from US to Canada, for example. It's just not possible. We in America like our stuff, and we buy a lot more stuff than Canadians do. But just for the length of time that different marketplaces around the world have existed, it doesn't mean that buyer pool doesn't exist. It means the adoption of a marketplace might be a lot newer, but then also your product and what they're looking for might be more different, right? International expansion is just finding more ways of your customer prototype around the world with the 7 billion plus people. It all doesn't exist in the United States because people from Canada are buying from .com and not .ca for various reasons, because it's not offered in .ca, or people in Japan are buying from Australia actually, or wherever it's available. People are going to find you in different ways. They have the need and want. You just have to be available in those markets. So it's a strategic investment, like you said, and I can go on and on, but yeah, it's an interesting way to like be a brand, but be a global brand. That's my passion, is showing, hey, you want to take your dog cream and you want it to be now a international dog cream or whatever it is. That takes time and effort, and that takes the ability to be available in not just retail but all over the world too. Again, inventory doesn't have to be replicated or doubled or what that looks like. You just need to be available, but incrementally, if you stack up, you start to see these wins, especially if you have issues in like .com, or you have this dependency on one channel, and it suffers in other places too. So that's my little soapbox for international growth and expansion today. Thank you for joining, everyone.
No, but he's absolutely right. And while he said some of those channels aren't as big or lucrative, I'd argue the case. You could be like a product that has a tough competition in the US, expand into Australia or Canada before some of those other players, and run the show, and getting a smaller pie over there, but having a bigger piece of it, you can actually drive more sales. I've got brands that are #1 bestsellers in Canada or Australia that are quite a bit down the ranks on the .com side. So we wouldn't even be a brand if we hadn't expanded. That's really where we found our success in regards to longevity. Or you could be seasonal and be in Australia and be selling in the winter here or summer there, right? So
yeah, barbecue sauce brand, right, that you guys used to or operate. I remember that, and that's where I was like, that makes a lot of sense. The seasonality of everything, of summer here, it's winter there, and then flip flop. Hey, inventory and sell hard over in Australia, not in the United States. So it kind of evens out in that capacity. And the statistic I always show too is people are, oh yeah, we sell in Canada and we get some sales because of programs on Amazon, right? The marketing or the new programs they always roll out. there's always more statistics that back up, hey, if you're selling directly in those markets, you get this bigger bump because of SEO, because of the ability to have local products and be able to deliver to that customer prototype. There's such a significant bump in Canada specifically. NARF versus direct in FBA. There's actually a 4x lift that you
Oh,
see direct in as opposed to NARF. So
100%.
coming directly from the mouth of Amazon employees that help operate that, they know the data and the insights. It's our job to shout out louder and say, "This is the statistic across the board that they're seeing. Maybe we should focus on this aspect instead of, oh, we're doing fine on .com. Like we're doing great. We're muddling along. Like and at 4x lift. I think any entrepreneur out there listening to us is like, sign me up. Like I'm in. Um, Anyways, so in that international light, are you guys actively trying to how does that marketing differentiate from an agency perspective of do you become masters in talking to the German prototype or the customer type or the French customer or Italian they're all different, right? They all feel think differently. How do you guys become experts in marketing in those areas?
Well, we're definitely not experts, but we partner with experts when it comes to localization, right? Like we use translators in Europe. We have a large Spanish speaking team and French speaking team actually as part of our technology just built into our team. So
Cool.
when we're working in those areas, we can self-serve. But it's also interesting to know, like, so someone that's a new marketer, let's say we're talking to a new seller that's
Mhm.
figuring stuff out themselves. They're not hiring an agency. They might not be good at marketing. They might be good at logistics and all these things. Well, if you're not good at marketing, and you're just like real straightforward and direct, there's no emotional connection, you might be doing great in Germany if you launch there because they like that type of selling, right? So sometimes selling in these different marketplaces can help you simply because the culture of the country is there, like a different type of marketing. And so before you like hit the nail on the head, you might just see that you resonate with a different demographic based on your results. It's like A/B testing. I found that to be the case. Sometimes we've launched in Germany with what we had, did great. Other times we launched in Germany with what we had and didn't do so great and needed a lot of localization to bring it around.
Mhm.
So, this just comes with experience and knowing that there's different nuance, between all of those things. But everyone likes to be a first mover, right? And
Yeah.
so what I would say is just that why these marketplaces are up and coming, there's still a lot of money to be made there. And you could be, in one of the first five, let's say, dog leash companies in Australia versus one of 100 in the US and coming in at spot 100 and trying to climb your way up. You could be one of five in Australia or something like that. So think about it as first mover. And I believe, if I'm hearing an owner say, "Hey, we're fine, we're doing okay here," I'm already like checking my
Yeah.
watch, like being like, when are we going to let this brand go, kind of thing. Because if you're not growing, you're dying as a brand, and you've got to be trying new things. We're talking Amazon. Amazon is an A/B testing, try new things all the time platform, and international expansion should be one of those things.
So what's something we're talking we title this hidden secrets. I'm curious, what have you seen recently that's like either been slowly rolled out by Amazon or something that you're like now starting to see Amazon test, and so you guys are trying to be like, hey, what's the reasoning behind this? That way we can market it to it. For example, I'll start and say Amazon's now showing number of products sold per month under their listings of and all in terms of like this many products are being sold this time of the month. So you see velocity comparing apples of like why are more people buying this? It's almost like a psychology thing of man, this one's selling 2,000 units a month and this one's selling only like 50, but that one looks so much cooler. Like, what's the difference? And then the second thing, man, I just had it. I think the other thing that they're testing is returns. So it's like this product is often returned because of sizing issues or whatnot. It's kind of calling out and giving more power to the buyer. So how do you market, or I guess three-part question, how do you market to that? How are you guys learning about it, and what are things that you're seeing that are kind of cool in that space?
Well, we're always trying to jump in and lean into whatever Amazon's bringing out that's new,
Sure.
and not jump in like completely because some of them just like end up,
It might die.
yeah, being imploding. But we're definitely testing and trying all of the time. Some of the newness, like we just wait to see what happens. We're observing, we're watching, we're seeing. I love when they're giving the power back to the consumer over time. These things might take away a little tool out of our tool belt or a trick, but it keeps the honest man honest, and I like that. I don't love the black hat stuff. I'm a brand builder. I like to do stuff the right way. I went to school for computer science for networking and security. Like my job was to
I didn't know
find
that.
oh yeah, my job was to find the hackers. So in general, I lean toward that side, and so people that are gaming my marketplace upset me a little
Yeah.
bit, if that makes sense, right? I like the game to be fair. I like the consumers to get what they want. It puts a bad taste in people's mouth overall. Think about the consumers that are like, Amazon's just this mega giant. I like supporting local. Well, I'm from Kansas City. I've worked with a lot of local brands. I used to just get super excited. You talk about taking a brand international. I love that. I used to love taking local brands national,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this brand is getting sales in California and Florida and all of these places. And that's more common now. But when I first started doing this, I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm able to help people. I love that Amazon's customer focused. I don't mind. You hear all this complaining and whining about Amazon this and that and da, 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 da. Like when you put it into context that they've built this platform to serve the customer at all times as best as they can. They built trust in the e-commerce space because of 2-day shipping and no hassle returns and all these things. I live for it. I love it. So you want to keep those scrapers honest and those ones that are predicting search term volume and sales velocity honest. You start showing some of the data yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If that stuff don't match up, they better get back to the drawing board to get that number right.
Yeah.
So part of it, I like it. I'll be honest. I'm not in the SaaS business, so I don't care. I just like it to be a good platform. I don't want it to be ran by pirates.
Yeah.
And the second thing I would say, one thing I've noticed is a lot of influencer videos on product pages. So Amazon Aspire and that kind of TikTok version of Amazon Live coming out where they're recording, influencer videos. Seeing it's not just Amazon Live with the product now. It's like these product videos living on the product pages. And so these people that are business operators that have not paid attention to branding or social media because they're like, Amazon's all I need. Well, I'm telling you, the people that understand how to use influencers and user generated content are going to be flocking to Amazon and figuring out Amazon, and are going to bring more competition to you because of these things. They're like, look, I know how to make TikTok videos. I know how to make content, and I can do it on Amazon.
Right there. Look at that.
Boom.
Isn't it interesting that we're seeing a Nike? So everyone, I'm gonna point to the camera. Inspire, if you upload your app, it's gonna be this this little icon at the bottom. Whoops, there you go. And it's gonna be a light bulb. When you click on it, you see TikTok inspired things. It's interesting. It's a Nike. Nike on Amazon? Question mark?
Think about it like this. All right, Nike, because I've worked with Adidas, and I've said this probably 100 times in the last 10 years. Adidas gave me my first taste at great branding, great content. I got hired by them to onboard a new brand they'd acquired. And Adidas was just embracing Amazon a long time ago. Nike had all the falling out, right? The gating and all the blah, blah, blah. There's still a lot of people, distributors, wholesalers, et cetera, that made a lot of money off Nike through the years. They're just pages. They're the ones that have suffered, in my opinion. Their pages look like crap. The listings look like crap. Are you getting the right shoe? Who knows? But I think that influencers can drive that. So influencers are like, look, I get paid a commission if I drive traffic or whatever to these pages as an Amazon associate or whatever. And they're like, look, I'm going to do the hottest products. So they're jumping on Nikes. They're jumping on, these brands. They're not gated in that regard to user generated content.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I thought Amazon was still Nike was still not on Amazon. So whoever they're pointing to, again, I haven't clicked on any sort of product page, but certain things like that. However, it's feeding the algorithm. Again, the algorithm you want to work in your favor. Hot products. You're constantly
Shoes,
talking about
sneakers,
shoes,
like they got.
wearables. Yeah, and I was gonna say the Amazon consumer small business 2022 small business empowerment report came out 2 days ago or yesterday, and it came out with 8 topics. Number one being top 5 of products that people on Amazon are buying. Number 1, by far and away, health and personal care. 2 is home. 3 is beauty. 4 is grocery, and 5 apparel. So you're talking about Amazon and people buying stuff with the free returns or returns within first 90 days or whatever it is. Again, use that to your benefit if you're building a brand and kind of lean into it. Does that list shock you, by the way, of types and categories that are hottest in the .com?
No, not really. As a consumer, those are my categories too. So,
Right.
I've got groceries sitting outside. I heard him come while we were on the podcast. Uh, I've got my
Hopefully
subscribe.
nothing perishable or
No,
something.
I've got my subscribe and save. I've got some of my hard goods. Like, as someone that's busy, I've tried to automate and set myself up for success, and just like how many grocery stores can I cut out of my week, grocery store runs or
Trips, yeah.
different things like that. I'll order stuff in my downtime at airports, or I'm an Amazon consumer and I stay an Amazon consumer so that I can think like a consumer.
Right.
But I'm not surprised by those categories. Food, a lot of those categories I think grew a ton in the pandemic because they were like essentials and things like that. And so they got a lot of attention, and we're feeling that now.
Yeah, we have a lot of awesome both health and personal care, but also a lot of grocery that's growing in our space as well, just because of the nature of which they have to constantly get items out the door if they have a shelf life or anything of that sort. That's something that's really unique and a different challenge, right? You have to do a lot quicker in velocity of that, making sure the margins work for you in that capacity. Finally, before I let you go, Andrew, what's one thing that you said you're a consumer? As a consumer, have you taken something you learned from being a consumer and then apply it to an agency, a business, your own brands that you guys are building?
Yeah, I think so. I'm always doing research, like, on TikTok. How do I shop? How do I find new brands? How am I sold to? I'm always watching Instagram or TikTok. Honestly, for product research, I walk around, I look at people, I am obsessed with it. And so I think about these things, and it's also the flow. So, I think about it in the same way I run Airbnbs. Okay. And so I'm like, if I wouldn't stay in this house, if I would enjoy this house, it's not ready. It's not good. Not that I'm the perfect customer by any
Right.
means, but that's kind of my standard. And so I kind of think of the same thing whenever I'm trying marketing strategies and whatever. Not to say like if Andrew doesn't do it, then no, but just like, okay, I noticed this thing. Let me go ask 5 or 10 people if they do the same thing. Like, for example, find something on TikTok. Even if it links to the product, I rarely ever just go straight to the product on TikTok. I pretty much come off the TikTok app, go to Amazon and search for the product.
Yeah.
Right. And if they've done a good job of branding, I'll search by the brand. Otherwise, I'll just search by what I think I saw. Right. And I might buy another product. So that's kind of a gray answer. But in general, it's just always kind of trying to test and notice whenever I see good marketers, whether they're like on Amazon or off Amazon. I try to follow their funnels, see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because if they are constantly in front of me and spending that money, they must be getting success at some level. Not necessarily, but something I'm seeing consistently of, I'm like, okay. And sometimes it's in areas you don't want to see. And what I'll say by that is like, the meme pages. There's meme funny pages on Instagram. Swipe 2 pages right, and it's an adult toy or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are these like? You can't market that on Amazon. Right. So it's an example of a product you can't market on Amazon. There's others, like let's say a CBD product or something like that. You can't market it. You can't do PPC. You can't do faith-based products like Christian books or a lot of those you can't market. And I see on Instagram that they'll have a meme page, a popular meme page or a funny page. They don't go straight with the product, hit it. They do something fun, swipe left or swipe right, and you see that product and a link to it on Amazon or something like that. So me as a consumer, I'm always just saying, oh, that's a very clever way of getting eyeballs on that and driving that traffic to Amazon, which then makes the organic rank climb, which makes it a successful product on Amazon, even if I'm not able to market it on Amazon.
Exactly. Or like saving things to pages or on list or anything of that sort. Utilize those different tools and tricks to make sure you're marketing to those people and get them through that funnel and finally purchasing your products. It's constantly evolving, man. Like it's exhausting to be a full service agency. And this is why I think of like, if you guys are in charge of everything, you have to know almost about everything. So that's
Right. You need a
exhausting.
team. You need a team that's focused on these little areas themselves all day, every day, versus like, I as the owner, I'm talking about everything that we're doing, but I've got specialists, right? I've got people that focus on A+ page all day, every day to know all the ins and outs and nuance and see what other people are doing and do their own little research. And you just have to stay a student of the game. You got to stay a student of the game And when you're done being a student of the game, you should get out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When you're done and you're not continuously growing, you should move on and don't hurt yourself in that way. Kind of wrapping up real quick. What are you working on? What's new? What's kind of going into summer or even the fall? Hopefully we see you before then, but going into the summer, what do you have going on? What are you guys focused on and what's new in that world?
Well, I mentioned TikTok. We actually are focused on TikTok with brands. Some of my some customers and some of my own personal brands. So we've got like a small special forces team really pushing content there on TikTok. And how does that TikTok to Amazon traffic? What does that data look like? How can we get it better? How can we get our funnels better? Just trying to understand all the nuance of that. I'm kind of having some fun with that. As an agency, I'm constantly trying to scale and improve our systems and process at all times. So from using a Scala and moving to ClickUp, hiring account managers in Europe to give us more diversity on time zones and things like that for our clients because we're all over the place.
Yep.
To any number of things like that, tools that we can be using to get better. So we're really like in the agency, even as like the CFO position, I am just working to scale and get better at our processes constantly. And then working on our own brands on the TikTok, to me, that's a lot of R&D. So building websites, practicing funnels, these are things that I haven't spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on. So, it's kind of been fun to learn those things. And, while the economy has been slow, I think a lot of people can say the economy has been slow as an agency. It's not just like a flood of brands, just working to get better at everything that we are doing. So to me, I try to take what the universe gives me, and if it's an avalanche, it's just like, okay, try to stay out in front of it. If it's a great snowstorm with soft snow, I'm trying to build an igloo, or something. So it's I'm just trying to do whatever I can with what we've got. And right now I think it's about getting better at everything.
Yeah, I love it. Constantly I'm losing my voice all of a sudden, so it's time to leave the podcast. It sounds like all of a sudden it hit me, man. Allergies and stuff like that. I'm trying to stay ahead of this thing. So appreciate hopping on, man. I love it. Thanks for hopping on. Crossover commerce. All right, I did it again. See, I did this the last 2 episodes. I say the former podcast name because it's embedded in me. Got to break the habit. So thanks for hopping on Global Spin Podcast. People can catch you on social media. Again, best way to follow or contact you if they have questions. What's that?
At Andrew Morgans on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Morgans. My company is Marknology, so www.marknology.com. Ryan, thanks for having me on the Global Spin Podcast. And I look forward to having you on Startup Hustle here soon.
Yeah, we have it scheduled here in I think June, so we'll be on there. I'm excited to come on and do a little talking myself and answer any questions you have. So I appreciate the time today, and we'll be in touch here shortly.
Thank you, everyone. See you later.
Awesome. And thanks, everyone, for hopping on the Global Spin Podcast. My name is Ryan Kerman. I'm a host of the show. This is episode 5. You can catch us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also, you can go to your favorite podcast destinations or just go to frisbee.com. Go to the podcast page, and all of our audio versions and video versions are going to be on our website. So you can check out the latest versions. Or if you missed one, definitely go back. But follow us on social media. Follow myself on social and make sure that and reach out to all the people and guests if you have questions. If you have questions in the future, go ahead and put in the comments and we'll make sure we answer those as well. But I'm Ryan Kramer. This is the Global Spin Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time on another episode. Take care.